Hey everybody, remember we talked about it? We're doing it. Bubbles and brisket.
Join us Saturday, June 26th in Cary at V Pizza, because now we get to be in public together.
There's going to be a bunch of pitmasters and chefs preparing all different types of brisket for you. There'll be at least 18 different sparkling wines and champagne for you to try. It is going to be one heck of a party.
With help from our friends at Raleigh Magazine, Triangle Wine Company, and Butcher's Market, we finally get to get out in public and enjoy ourselves. And why not? Let's get outside, a little bubbly, and put it with what we all genuinely love, delicious brisket.
To get tickets, you go to ncfbpodcast.com. That's our website if you didn't know. Bubbles and Brisket is going to happen on June 26th from 2 to 6 at
V Pizza in Cary, North Carolina. Sponsored in part by Raleigh Magazine, The Butcher's Market, Triangle Wine Company, and brought to you by the NCF&B Podcast.
You are listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. Thank you for downloading and subscribing. Coming to you virtually live from high atop the historic Raleigh building in beautiful downtown Raleigh. The NCF&B takes the listener behind the scenes to tell the stories of the people that contribute to the creation of the food and beverage community of North Carolina. And now, the misfits in the dish pit, the faces of the front. They are Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss. And today, we are going down under.
Oh, Jesus.
Down under the This Is Raleigh podcast and blog and the Why Travel blog with the creators of that and beautiful Australian couple, Caroline and Craig Makepeace.
I guess this is where we say g'day.
G'day.
Yeah, g'day
G'day,
guys.
mates.
Thanks for having us on.
Well, thanks for joining a bunch of seppos like Max and myself.
You know the lingo.
It's not a
Don't worry.
podcast. This is a podcast.
That sounded South African.
Yeah, that
Or
did.
British.
That sounds South
But to an
African.
American, it sounded Australian.
Correct.
It's all the same. No, I'm kidding. No. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being on the show. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, we're happy to be here.
So,
Thanks for having us.
As your nickname, Kaz and Craig on
Uh-huh.
your Insta says, we first met at Y Hill.
Yeah,
Your
we
local
did.
haunt.
Yeah.
Well, my time there, helping out with getting them up, opening and reopened, and it's a awesome, lovely place. I just listened to
Yep.
a little bit of your brewery episode of This Is Raleigh, as Matt alluded to, your podcast that talks about Raleigh, I assume. Yes, that is the structure. And the neighboring areas.
Yep.
Yeah.
I listened to the beer episode because I'm quite fond of beer, and you guys gave a beautiful shout out to Y Hill,
Yep.
which was cool. Real quick, last name, Makepeace.
It's real.
Make peace, don't war. What can we say?
One word.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
I was going to say, like, was your family like from like a
lot
bunch
of
of
pressure.
Australian politicians or so?
Not at all.
Didn't you hear?
Or-
Didn't
or-
you hear like the background of that?
They don't have a laws back in.
No. Not that
Peacemaker
background.
of the village.
When we first moved to Raleigh in 2004, and Caroline was teaching, like so many locals asked me, "Am I American Indian?"
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
Right.
And I'm
It,
like,
it sounds like it.
of course, I look like it and sound like it, don't I? But no, it's English name. I don't know the full backstory, but yeah,
Somewhere, somebody
a
was
family
like, civil
member.
to another person.
Yeah. Well, peacemakers. I don't know.
It's
Of the
funny, we
village
get
of
lots
the-
of different versions of it as we travel around. I've been called Mrs. Peacemaker when I used to be a teacher. Make Love is one that's been on our check-in card a few times at hotels.
I don't know how.
Suggestion, maybe.
Yeah, hint, hint, wink, wink. I don't know.
Is it on the calendar?
Yeah, book it in, but yeah.
It's fair income, as we'd say in Australia, which means it's for real. It's our
For
real
real.
name.
Yeah. People like say, "Is that really your name?" And I have to show them my driver's license. It's like, yes, it is.
It's legitimate.
It's crazy.
It's on the license.
Well,
But,
so having you on the show, you kind of break the mold of our typical guest, but having you on was kind of, I don't know, Matt and I were talking about it, and I thought, it's interesting. We should have these two on because we don't talk about travel and we don't talk about the best things to do in North Carolina, even though all we do is talk about all the best food and drink and everything that kind of comes from the state of North Carolina. So I found it intriguing to have you on because similar to Matt and I, and maybe not as far as we traveled, but Matt and I are not from here. You know, I'm a West Coaster. Matt's a northern. What do you call yourself? An
East Coaster, Northeaster, Northeasterner.
He's a New Yorker, and so we made Raleigh or the neighboring areas our home. We picked it, and I kind of like the idea of that because it's like we didn't just assume like this is the cool spot to be or this is cool. We're telling locals, hey, this is a pretty cool spot.
Yeah.
Coming from other places, this is an extraordinary place.
Yeah.
So I found it to be kind of interesting because the fact that you guys are originally from Australia, and not even once or twice, but like 3 different times the city of Raleigh compelled you to come back.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
we kept,
maybe let us kind of know, like, why North Carolina? Why Raleigh?
Yeah, I mean, we've been coming since 2004. So originally it was a random placement. I was recruited by a teaching company based in Chapel Hill who recruited teachers from around the world to expose kids to different cultures. And we were actually hoping to be placed in Colorado, but it just was random that I was placed in a school in Johnson County. And we hadn't really heard of Raleigh and then moved over in 2004. And both Craig and I felt the same, just an instant connection when we moved here. We just felt something special about Raleigh, the energy of the place, the vibrancy. Back then was 2004. It wasn't as hip and happening as what it is now, but we definitely felt that. We loved the 4 seasons, the climate, and of course, you know, it feels like we live in a forest here, which nature is really important for us and getting outdoors. And so we just loved everything about Raleigh.
Yeah, it was just such a surprise. Like you said, we'd never heard of Raleigh. We were living in Dublin, Ireland at the time, and she was teaching, and she was reading a teacher's journal magazine and come across this ad, Teach in the USA. And she lived in London, we lived in Bangkok teaching English. We were following like a working holiday visa to travel around. And when you hit the age of 30, that kind of runs out. So we're looking for another way to continue this travel journey. Yeah. So she came across this ad, applied for it. We'd never heard of Raleigh, and we're sitting in our living room watching American Idol in 2003, and Raleigh's one and only Clay Aiken was in the finals. And I think it was like top 3 when they take him home and do the tour and stuff. And I think they went. It was used to call the RBC Centre before the PNC Arena.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure it was there. That was the first time I ever seen or heard about Raleigh.
Yeah.
And then and you know,
thanks to Clay to bringing it around the world. Now that's what we're trying to do.
Look at that. But she got placed in a school in Smithfield, but we're like, we're probably going to be in Raleigh all weekend, every weekend. So we lived in Raleigh and she commuted to work, which was not bad.
Yeah.
It's against the traffic anyway. So
Yeah. Not a bad commute. And our buddy now has a great restaurant out there. Did you guys know that? Under the Oak Farm, Blake Gottlieb.
Yeah.
Shout out to him.
Oh, right.
Out
Yeah.
in Smithfield, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Smithfield's popping.
Breaking new ground.
Yeah.
There you go.
We
We'll
did
have to get down there and check it out.
Yeah, we did a bit of Joko. We did a campaign down there about 2 years ago, and I'm sure like a lot happens in 2 years. So we need to get back down there and check it all out. But so we had a J1 and J2 visa, which were limited to 3 years. So we stayed from 04 to 06, and then went home,
Decided we wanted to
missed
be back
Raleigh
here.
again, come back from 08 to 10. And then got caught up in the subprime real estate financial disaster and lost 2 properties, donated money to the stock market, ended up in massive credit card
Nice
debt.
of you.
Yeah.
So we had to go home with our tails between our legs and rebuild a lot. And that's actually when we started our blog in 2010. And
And that has picked up quite a lot of traction. It's fun. So why travel blog?
sorry, that was Why Travel
Why
Blog we started in
Travel Blog,
2010. Yeah, This Is Raleigh is just new from last year.
Right, but most of the world knows you from Why Travel Blog.
Correct, yeah.
Because you do a lot of international travel. You're doing a lot of things. What's nuts is like, of course, you have like great representation on your blog and on Instagram and all, but I didn't realize that you have 4.2 million followers on Pinterest.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the hell's
Pinterest is the biggest.
Pinterest?
If only it converted into traffic and stuff like
Well,
that.
it used to very like huge amounts of traffic we used to get from Pinterest back in the beginning, and
Yeah.
we were just featured on one of their boards, I think, when they were quite new and people were joining, and so they would just recommend our board to new subscribers, and so we grew like we weren't doing anything with it, and turned around one day and saw there were 30,000 followers, and then it was crazy to just log in every day and see it rise and rise and rise, and then
Yeah.
suddenly we're at 4.2 million.
And was it just pictures from your travel blog that were
Yeah.
on there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
pictures that
travel
link back to our
inspiration.
blog posts and stuff like that. It was one particular board, a bucket list board that took off. I guess everyone likes bucket lists, but yeah, I just kept snowballing and snowballing, and it used to do really well, but now the constant changes, the algorithm, a lot more competition. It's kind of harder now. It's like every platform, it's just constantly changing.
Well, also, I imagine that 2020 was an easy thing to have
no.
a travel blog. Yeah.
2020 hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're talking to Jen Rice, notable travel food writer and
Yeah.
all, and she's like, I'm writing a lot about Raleigh during this year.
That's kind of like we always intended to have a niche site on Raleigh because we love it and very
Yeah.
passionate about it now. And like 2020 just gave us the time and the space to do that because we're usually off running around who knows where.
Yeah.
And busy with everything else. So
Well, before
Yeah.
we get into talking about Raleigh, I do want to ask you guys about, you mentioned home and you went home and where that is and then how that corresponds now. But also, as long as we're talking about Raleigh, we might as well talk about the greatest place to get wine and vermouth and all your beverage needs, beer.
That's what people do. They're like, well, it's time to start talking about Triangle Wine Company.
Exactly. The Triangle Wine Company is where you go to get those things. And they have a good amount of locations all around the Triangle. They are in Cary. They are in the Bedford community in North Raleigh. They're in my neck of the woods in Holly Springs. And they're in Southern Pines. And also, they are about to launch a new website, which is pretty exciting and making all your beverage needs even easier than it already was because they do curbside delivery. They do delivery. But of course, you can always walk in the store, have a beer at their tap room, and talk to Chris or Glenn or any of their really knowledgeable staff and get yourself some great wine, beer, other types of mixers. But don't forget to use the NCF&B promo code to receive a discount. TriangleWineCo.com.
Awesome.
yeah.
I'll be checking out
deal.
the Cary location.
Exactly, yeah. The
Yeah,
Waverly.
the Waverly place. It's a fun spot to be.
Oh, okay.
A lot of cool places to eat there. They're right next door to
That's,
the Whole Foods.
Yeah, near the Whole Foods. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yes, we know what it is.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
we
yeah,
do
yeah.
know. That is really cool. We have
We're
popped in
not
there a
far from
couple of
there.
times.
We're not far
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
The kids like the Shake Shack, you know.
Oh, yeah.
that's right.
What can
Yeah.
I say?
So you do have two children
Yeah.
as well, lovely little daughters. You travel with kids now,
Yeah.
which is something that both Matt and I we each have two children, two boys, two girls, and that's kind of like a whole story into itself, like how that even happens. But like, what kind of kicked off first, your love for travel, or did you start doing travel after you had children, or how did this get going?
Oh, no, the
before,
travel
way before.
started before. I first started traveling in 97, 3 days after I graduated from university. My brother had been living in London and traveling around Europe, and I was hearing his stories, and I was like, okay, I want this lifestyle. I've got to make it happen for me. And so I did. I backpacked around Indonesia with some girlfriends and then moved to London, lived there for over 2 years and travelled Europe, and that was it. I was hooked after that and have done it ever since. And then met Craig, and Craig was doing travelling himself as well. And 3
not
days
like
after,
you, but-
not like me, but you were not full time like me, but
No.
you were travelling and passionate about it. And then 3 days after we married, we went for a honeymoon that lasted for 5 years. So it was like,
How do you travel full time? Like, you had a
well-
job as a travel writer, or what? What
no,
were you doing?
at this time, like we lived in other countries. So even though we were like, say, living in Dublin or Bangkok or even over here, we see that as every day is a travel experience because you're living in a new culture, and even just going to the supermarkets, an experience. And so I was teaching in the different countries, and Craig he taught in Bangkok, but doing construction work as well. So we would just move wherever the job or the money was, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I played a professional sport straight out of high school for 6 years. Called rugby league. Not rugby, similar, but I just say rugby because most Americans understand it. But,
Wait, rugby league is different than rugby?
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah, slightly different code. Well, you've been to Oz, you probably know the difference. But,
Yeah, That's the one where there's more kicking involved in the
That's rugby union.
Oh, that's rugby union. Okay.
Yeah. Rugby league's it's similar. It's more one-on-one. There's 13 aside instead of 15. There's not as many like rocks and mauls and like wrestle the man with the ball type thing. But it's violent. No pads. So we did some trips to South Africa and England. Went to England in like high school, grade 12 for the Australian schoolboys team. Played in New Zealand, so I just got the travel bug like that, and then met Kaz. I mean, we grew up in the same small town, but we didn't really meet until we were like 18.
So what is that
Weirdly.
small town?
Woi woi.
Woi.
Woi Woi. An old Abo town. Aboriginal town? Yeah.
Yeah, it means deep water.
Yeah.
Deep water. And
Yeah.
it's outside of Sydney or
1 hour north of Sydney. In
1 hour.
between, about halfway between Sydney and Newcastle, if you're familiar with the East Coast.
Yeah. Okay. And
Yeah.
is that what you were referring to as home when you would
That's
when you would
that's where we
go
both
back?
grew up. Yeah,
Okay.
that's where we both grew up.
Yeah.
Cool.
So-
All right. So yeah, the travel part. But when you were traveling as a solo with your brother, you were also teaching English at that time.
I was teaching in London.
Okay.
So I'm a qualified elementary school teacher, so I just went straight from university into teaching in the most difficult area
I was
in
going to say,
London.
yeah,
in
they
the
probably
Hackney
didn't
area.
need help much teaching English in London. I'm not
I
sure.
don't know
but-
what I
Well,
was teaching.
Australian-
but I was breaking up
Australian
fights. and-
slang they needed. But
yeah,
you,
I mean, it was a crazy experience, especially straight out of college, university. But, it was great. It just gave me an opportunity to live in London and access to traveling to Europe. So that's really what I was there for, the
Sure.
travel side of things, yeah.
So the Why Travel blog. So 2010. So you're teaching. You're doing construction jobs. and you
No,
had
not
some-
then. I was working for Delta at RTU actually.
Oh,
Yeah. I just
That would have been
bounced around a few
advantageous.
different jobs. Yeah.
little free flying.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
good deal of flying.
the money was crap, but the free flight
perks were
benefit,
good.
the perks were good.
Okay.
The perks were good.
So did one of you say, "Hey, why don't we at least try to monetize this with a travel blog, or let's just take pictures and write about it?"
Yeah,
or,
well, as I said, we're going through a financial disaster at the time. Like we had an investment property here, plus a property we owned back in Australia, and unfortunately they were kind of tied together. So when this one went down, we lost both of them. And excuse me. And we're just looking for ways to. We'll never like really job people. Like we always like their own time freedom.
Yeah.
And from our travel history and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
jobs are lame.
So we overrated.
especially when you have to be somewhere.
Yeah, they're definitely
Boss sucks. He
definitely
always wants me to
overrated.
work.
So we dabbled in a lot of online stuff that I'm not even going to mention. It's too embarrassing. But we so we're always looking
We
for
failed.
we're always looking for a way to be online entrepreneurs and just work from wherever we had internet and Wi-Fi and could just travel and stuff. The dream. And yeah, she's just come across these people travel blogging, and she's like called me up. I was at work at Delta. I'm like. She's like, I finally found what we're going to do with our lives. I've come across these people travel blogging. And she goes, I'm like, what's a blog? Like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And she goes, it's like a online journal. You write about your stories and your tips and all this sort of thing. And I'm like, okay, like we're in a complete mess, and we're like, this is gonna be how we get out of our financial disaster.
Absolutely.
I had no idea. I was like, okay, let's do that. So anyway, the startup costs were easy, and didn't have a brick and mortar or anything like that. But
And
we
it's
we
less
had,
embarrassing than
Less
being a
embarrassing.
sexual voice performer. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I gotta know.
A little bit, yeah.
There's no judgment.
You're telling the story. I don't know.
That's my fallback job.
Let's no.
Yeah, but she used to have her own little journal that I wasn't even allowed to read. Now we're going to like spew our life all over the internet. I was like, yeah, let's do that.
We did,
So
and it
we got
worked.
started. But we had no tech background, no writing. Like she used to love writing. I was passionate about taking photos, so it's kind of like a natural progression in that regard.
Yeah.
And you were a teacher, so you
Yeah.
knew grammar, right?
Kinda.
A little bit.
As much as they teach you in Australia,
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
you're like, what an asshole.
You said it.
Oh man, it's like sometimes we go back and see our old blog posts, and they're pretty embarrassing.
They are pretty embarrassing.
But good
Is there
enough.
anything anyone looks in their past that
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
know?
You're like, oh, let's hide that. Let's hide that one.
Felicia and I look at our when you walk into our house, there's a picture from every anniversary we've ever had, and we over the weekend just celebrated our 21st year of knowing each other, 16 of them married, but we look at our pictures and it's in chronological order, and it's like, what the hell were we thinking? And I mean,
The fashion, the hair, everything.
like, I'm going to go out and say this. I look better now than I've ever looked, and that's not like a great thing, but it's like, I should have looked the best when I was like 27, you'd just think. But it's like, my haircut is the worst in my wedding photos. Like, what was I look like I didn't even care. I was like, I just woke up, my hair is just all in the face. But
You only knew
You
Mick
probably
then.
didn't care.
yeah, Mick, here's your free plug. Good haircut, good beard cut. Yeah. But yeah, like you just progressively get better. Anyhow, I'll interject because I think this is a kind of apropos. It was a question I was going to ask. So Felicia and I had our anniversary weekend just this weekend, and we decided to pawn off our children. This is great, by the way. If any of the parents' friends that I have, just know that like we had we game planned this. We're like, instead of finding a babysitter for our kids, do you want maybe Alexander would like to have an overnight with your daughters? And they're like, that
At your
sounds great.
house.
And we're like, and Charlotte too over at her friend's house. Like, yeah, great. And we're like, childcare taken care of. We got it. So we did a weekend overnight just in Durham. Right.
Oh,
And it's not like
it's a
it was
fun
a
city.
big travel plan, but anytime you get an overnight with just yourselves and your kids are not there, it feels very different and liberating. And so we had a great time. All of these places I'm mentioning, we did not get paid to stay at, so there's no sponsorship involved. But we went to the Unscripted Hotel.
Oh,
they had a little
such a
cool
groovy
rooftop
place.
pool, so that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
But we started our day. We dropped off those little monsters, and then we went to Saltbox.
Oh, yeah.
Ricky Moore's place. Oh my God. Like, you deep fry fish and all that. And you just, in your mind, you're like, it's going to be heavy, greasy, whatever. No way. It was so delicious, like crispy and crunchy. Went back, went to J Lights, former guest of the show, Jared Burton's new place that he opened up there next to Highwire Brewing. Had a cocktail, hung out there, then went to Unscripted, lounged by the pool, watched these ridiculous women on their bachelorette party all dressed in 80s clothes, but really they were like the entertainment for the whole time.
Yeah, that would have been.
Very windy, and one of the gals who was overserved, she's like, my dress keeps flipping up. There you go, everybody. Here it is.
Yeah, nobody look.
And then we made our way to Corpse Survivor, the new bar that opened up from our friends at Durham Distillery. We had fantastic cocktails, probably more than we should have, but then walked over to also former guest of the show, Matt Kelly's Mateo,
Wow.
and dinner exquisite. Went after that was done, we went to Alley 26 to see Shannon Healy, just so he could reprimand us for anything we said wrong on the podcast recently. But they were just closing at that time, so and Chef Carrie was there too. I chatted their ear off. Felicia said, "You're drunk and you're talking too much. Shut up." So we went across the street to Kingfisher and
Carrie and Shannon,
God,
thank
what
you,
a night.
Felicia.
Yeah.
This is a big night.
we went to Kingfisher and hung out, and our good buddy and former guest of the show, Sean Umstead, was there and made us a smart cocktail to finish the night, and then went to sleep, and that was our night, and it was wonderful. And then we went to 9th Street Bakery in the morning and got delicious croissants, and then picked up our little precious joys and went home.
Awesome. Sounds like fun, and
It was-
I'm impressed you actually remember it.
If only you blogged about it.
Yeah.
You just did.
I podlogged.
You pod
Yeah,
blog.
yeah,
yeah. about
Audio blog.
Yeah, so there you
Wow,
go.
so many places. Like I feel like we've done a little bit in Durham, but like we've barely scratched the surface. Sounding like
There's
that.
a lot
Time
to do
to
there.
pawn our
Going on.
kids
Same
off.
with Raleigh too. The more like you keep mentioning places around here too, like it's just endless, evolving.
Well, that's the other thing. When you say Raleigh, it's not really just Raleigh, right?
No.
It's Raleigh,
Triangle.
Durham, Chapel Hill,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
even now, like
Yeah.
Nightdale's going to be on the map,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
with
yeah.
Max's new
Crafted.
place out there, and
Yeah.
where I live, Holly Springs is popping. I mean, we
Clayton.
see with
Clayton's popping.
yeah,
Even Fuquay Verena.
Yeah, even
is,
Fuquay, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So it's a
Endless
happening spot.
options.
But that,
It's bro, yeah.
But that's my my question to you then is since especially from last year when we were all basically kind of shut down and not a lot of travel was happening, as those that really are like kind of going all around, is there any and Matt, feel free to chime into this one too, but any city, town, some little cool spot in North Carolina that is kind of underrated that you all have visited and would really like love to highlight? Is there something that would be on your list to say, you guys got to check this out?
Yeah, I mean, I guess
underrated.
one that I don't know how rated it is, for us, it's like top is Wrightsville Beach. For us, that's my favourite beach in the USA, actually.
That's not
I
under the
think-
radar, obviously, but
Yeah, but I'm like, still, we speak to so many people and they've never heard of it. So I always put it out there because it's like an Australian town. It's so laid back. Everyone gets around on bikes and, it's surfy culture kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, and the food scene's starting to get really good there. The breweries are popping up everywhere.
Well, so here's give us a tip of where do you guys stay and what times of the day do you drive, or like what's the pro
we
way to travel
We
there?
made the mistake of going down on a Sunday for a day trip one time, and
Couldn't get a
I was
part.
driving around literally for 2 hours trying to find a car park. Almost left, with the cranks, but it was ridiculous. But we've stayed at the Blockade Runner Beach Resort a couple of times. If you're familiar with that,
Blockade
which
Runner,
is
yeah.
towards the south end. It's
Prime
cool.
location
That's
on
a cool
the beach.
spot.
It's cool.
Yeah,
We've camped before down
we've camped
there.
down there before. We haven't Airbnb or anything, have we yet?
Not
I
yet.
think,
No.
but
It's on the list for summer.
yeah. Or we stayed in Wilmington, and just because it's just like 10 minutes down the road.
But then
So
you still,
like,
and then you still drive the car to the beach, or then you rent bikes.
No, drive.
Drive. Okay.
Yeah.
Not from Wilmington, but yeah. Well, the cool
Yeah.
thing about staying down there is you got parking at your hotel or apartment or whatever. Because parking, they gotta work on their parking situation down there. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. Honestly, it was people were sitting in car parking spaces in camp chairs, waiting for their friend who's like an hour away just
Yeah.
to block it out. I'm like, so it's like a game going on.
Yeah.
It was nuts. But anyway, and we. Like you said, it's like we love the ocean on one side and the
on the
intracoastal
other.
waterway on the other side. It's like the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And, like we've traveled quite a lot around the US, and obviously being from Oz, like we know beach towns, and that one's one of our favorite.
Sure.
Even, versus, I know it might upset California man over here, but I think
You got
like the
something to say
beaches,
about
like,
California?
I'll say this.
I don't know.
No, North Carolina
Like-
beaches are pretty fantastic, but
Yeah.
I was, being a West Coaster, like Los Angeles, or I should say more like Santa Monica and Playa del Rey beaches are unparalleled. Like the beach is very long, so there's a lot of sand and it's very
wide.
soft. It's wide. Like
yeah.
you could play some rugby out there if you like.
Yeah.
And you could do whatever you want. We were down in Tulum recently, and it's like the coastline was so jagged and like tons of rocks, and like just maybe it was just where we specifically were, but like we went to 3 or 4 different beaches along the coastline, and it all kind of felt very like aggressive, And then but North Carolina's beaches are as close to the Santa Monica beaches as I could find in my travels around the world, and it's like what I consider a beach to be is like where I'm kind of spent most of my time, which was Santa Monica. I have a hard time getting a better beach than that, in my personal opinion.
well, our favorite would probably be Huntington over in California.
Yeah, see?
Like it's,
Yeah.
it's
You
similar.
agree then,
It's
yes.
similar to Australia as well. That beach vibe and the surf culture and stuff like that. Just the thing with California for us, it doesn't get quite hot enough in the summer, and the water's chilly. Like it's that currents coming down from Alaska and stuff like that.
Yeah, but as an old guy, I don't go in the ocean anymore.
That's true.
Just look at it.
Come on, man, it'll wake you up, revitalize you. You got to jump in. Yeah, it's like the cold plunge therapy.
That's right. Cryotherapy.
Get amongst
cold
it,
plunge,
especially
yeah.
on a hangover. It's good.
Do you ever, Matt, do you take the Weisses ever do like a little day trip somewhere that's fun in North Carolina?
Well, yes, of course. Eno River is always a
Oh,
good
I wanna do
one,
that one.
especially
Yep.
where they, it opens up and you can go in and kind of just have a picnic there and sit. That's always a good one. Like
Yep.
sit, if it's hot, just sit in the river and cool off. Plus, it's nice hiking.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's not far.
Yeah.
But what I'm interested in, as long as we're on the subject, is I'm much like you getting a night away. My wife and I, we've wanted to plan like, let's just get away, but someplace where we don't have to spend too much time in the car, but that's like really quaint, and it can just be like a kind of romantic getaway. Do you guys have any top suggestions for that?
Romantic
That
getaway.
that is somewhat close
Somewhat
to
close.
Raleigh.
Like is it a town, a city, or nature, or
Could be any of the above.
Either or.
Yeah.
What's some of our other favorite places? Lake Lure, we like
Lake Lure.
in North Carolina.
Okay.
Renting a place there, like a house or a bum. Like, as much as we love the beach, we've come to love lake life.
Yeah.
In Carolina, and like it's just being on the water. It's a different energy than the ocean, obviously, but it's like serene and peaceful. And yeah, we've been to Lake Lure many times. Love it.
Yeah. And you stay at an Airbnb there? Or?
Yeah, there's many options. There's like lodges and stuff.
Yeah.
There's
We stayed at the lodge on Lake Lure.
That's
I
right
think
on the
it was
lake,
called.
and you just
Oh, it
go
was
paddleboarding
beautiful.
and stuff. And there's good places to eat. There's golf. There's hiking. It's right near Chimney Rock. It's not far from Biltmore and Asheville.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you like it there.
I like that one. And if you want somewhere if you want looking for a lake destination that's closer, we love Carr Lake.
But that's just camping.
That's
Like
just camping,
tent
yeah. But if you
Okay.
wanted that kind of a getaway, it's only like an hour away from here. It's beautiful. It's
Carl.
really beautiful.
C-A-R-L?
No, it's spelled Kerr. We would say Kerr Lake, but all the
Kerr. Like the
locals,
coach of the Warriors, Steve Kerr.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but the
Yeah.
locals
There you
seem to
go.
say
I'm
Carr
like, what do
for
they
some
call
reason.
it? Car.
Yeah.
It might have predated you being here, Matt, but there was car drugs. It was like where all the
must be
Walgreens
that.
and CVS took over. There was one right next to Midtown Grill where the Walgreens is now, but it's Kerr. Looks like Kerr, but I
Yep.
think it's pronounced car.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, also Beaufort, South Carolina. We like. We stayed there.
Oh,
It
yeah,
was
that was
charming. We
great.
stayed in the Beaufort Inn, which was lovely.
And I'm hearing great things about really up and coming area for good seafood and cuisine at Beaufort. Is that?
Actually, we did have
And
really good
pizza.
seafood there.
yeah,
we did.
A lot of waterfront dining options. And
Yeah.
It's a nice
Felicia,
place.
my wife, and our oldest daughter went to Edenton. I'm showing this right now on screen, but visit Edenton while I took our youngest to our Y Guides weekend. Felicia decided to take Charlotte out, or Alexandra and her out to Edenton, which is kind of Outer Banksy area. But she said it might be the greatest little spot she's ever been to. And like you see all these beautiful pictures. So like that's a really cool spot too. Like there's just so much to do in North Carolina.
Yeah, another
it
place
is.
we've stayed on site at Biltmore, at the Biltmore Inn, which was
Sure.
cool.
Not under the radar, unfortunately.
No, no, absolutely not. But most people think just the house. Like, there's so much to do there.
Oh,
like
yeah.
the
quite a
wineries, there's horse
destination,
riding,
really.
there's like kayaking, canoeing. There's like it's a huge property.
Right. Yeah, you
that's
don't have to
pretty
leave
cool.
the property, really.
No,
We just came back. We just were down and visiting 4 Georgia state parks. We just got back on Friday, and we were working with them down there. And we went to the Brasstown Valley Resort and Spa, which is only like a 5-hour drive from here.
Yeah.
And again, that's in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Georgia, and that would be a beautiful getaway.
it's a cool
spot.
spot. It was great. Great
sounds
balance between like adult kids. Well, you're not taking your kids, but if you did take kids,
Well,
but
that could be another trip.
yeah, there was
Yeah.
golf,
for sure.
there was spa, there was
Spa
like
was
tennis, there's hiking, there's horseback riding, there's boating, pontoon boating or speed boating. There's a bunch of stuff,
Yeah.
and it's all like a destination, like right
Yeah.
there.
I love that.
Yes.
Well, you guys talked about kids and traveling with kids. And, I remember when, before we had kids, my wife had an old colleague that came to visit us in New York City, and her and her husband were dragging around their like 2.5-year-old daughter to places in New York City and going to restaurants, and like, this is our life, like this is what we do. And my wife is more of the opinion, we're going to travel after the kids are older, like we can travel. But I remember when I was 5, my parents dragged me, and very thankful because it's changed my life, all over Europe,
Yeah.
and my mom was pregnant with my little brother, and we were in London, and I think there's still like some splatter of her, being nauseous over the London streets that you might have seen when you were teaching there. But I mean, I remember those things, like, and maybe when you're in the moment, it seems like a lot, but
Yep.
then you reflect on it, and it's like, oh, that's part of, the very fabric. So
Yep.
what are because you started the travel, your oldest daughter is 10 now?
She's 13.
She's 13.
Yeah. So she was nearly 3 when we started it.
Okay.
So she's
yeah.
always been part of our journey.
Journey, yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you tell parents who say, no, we're not going to travel with kids? Or like, what's your tips? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, I always say to people when they say, traveling with kids is too hard, it's like parenting is hard.
Yes.
Like, full stop. It
Being
doesn't matter
home
where
with
you
kids.
are or what you're doing. So why not go out and have these adventures with them? And what parents typically find, and what we've discovered, is how adaptable kids are. And really, it's your expectation, and it's how your perception of it is whether it makes it hard or not. And if you can just be flexible and go with the flow, and I think for a lot of parents, they think about travel and they think about the experience, what it is before they had kids. And so they take that thinking and apply it to with kids, and you can't do that. It's a different experience. So you have to approach it from the perspective of, okay, now we have children that are joining us on this adventure, and how can we change it to help them have a great time and us as well. So it's just, I think it's really your mindset and how you approach it, and just find ways
your
to be.
children? I mean, do you want to hang out with them? It sounds funny, but I really do think that maybe there's a lot of kind of just ego, like, you know, you're an adult, so I did say, like, I hold a lot of people up to high standards, and I even hold my children up to high standards of just being like capable little human beings. Like, I don't look at them as children. I just look at them as younger, or I don't know, like small. They're smaller people, but they're still people, and they have fully formed ideas and thoughts, and they can really get it. And I think as long as you just kind of let them exist as like their own person, then like it expands the experience for you, you know, and it's great. We went to France for an entire month with the kids 2 years ago. Nice. And that, 3 years ago. Holy crap. Yeah, that was a wild time. I just shared on Facebook, like our memory of 3 years ago. We were at the James Beard Awards this weekend because it was my anniversary weekend with Felicia. And we went there to see all of that. And then directly after we got home, we got on a flight and we're gone for a month. And our kids today still talk about that and like their shared experience with it. And it just opens your eyes up. We're going. By the way, Matt, I'm not going to be around for about 10 days. We're going back to California. Just to give you a heads up, put it in the calendar.
I did know that.
Oh yeah, I think I just told you. But even that, like I mentioned to my family, who I'll finally get to see again after this long, you know, time out from with the pandemic. But you know, some of the family members aren't vaccinated yet, and they don't want to like go out and see things. And I'm like, okay, but it's about shared experience. Like I'm telling my mom, like, I don't want to just go hang out in your backyard with masks on and like have that be the memory of like what we go do, because then for one, you either will forget it because it's not memorable, or it'll be so memorable that you'll look at it kind of negatively, like, oh yeah, I remember the last time I went there, that was lousy. So you don't have the feeling of going back. So instead we're like, no, we're going to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And if you want to come see us, that's where we'll be. Come join us. And then next day, we're going to Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco. So that's where we'll be. And then we're going to Napa, and we're going to go to these places. So that's where we'll be. So come join us, or not, but that's where we're going to be. And sorry for my family listening to right now. But like, wow, you're a dick. But it's like I want people to have shared experience, and I think that's what you get, especially with your family. It's like you connect on things, and then you pull back to those things later on in life. And it's like, you know, as Matt's saying, thinks about his childhood with fond memories because of all this traveling. It's like kudos to Ed and Ellen over there.
No, they were definitely wanting to have that shared adventure and putting. Although I'm not sure my dad had the perspective of like, oh well, how can we work this with the kids? Like, because getting to the Louvre on time was not like in my priority, you know. But nonetheless, memorable.
Still nothing funnier than us just being driven around by your parents when you, me, and Forrest were in New York.
They need their own YouTube channel with a dash camera. It is
over here, park over here. I'm not parking over there. I'm not going to do that anymore. Okay, will you just listen to me for once? It was hilarious.
They need their own YouTube.
Travel with kids. Travel doesn't have to stop once you have kids. That's kind of like one of our taglines, actually. Yeah. And the earlier you start them, the better. And they get used to flying or used to road trips or whatever. And our kids started flying when they were 6 months old. We went to New Zealand, was it?
No, 8 weeks. 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
See, a 6-week-old I could see because they don't know any better. They're going to sleep and they're going to be up and they're going to need to like walk around.
Plane seats are like free or cheap, like because you can share them or put them in the bassinet thing.
Before too, right?
Yeah.
But when they get to like the age of they can walk, going on a flight to New Zealand, that seems like a real
it is
adventure to say the least.
Once they find their legs,
years,
that's tough. I mean, that's tough if you're just at home. Anyway. Like chasing them around everywhere.
Yeah. From when they find their legs to about 3 when they settle into them. That is the toughest. And when our youngest was 17 months old, we went to we were living in Australia at the time and went to Thailand for a short trip. And we were using that as a test run because we were considering backpacking through Southeast Asia with the girls for a long period of time. And we figured out pretty quickly that it wasn't going to work because our youngest, I mean, she has so much energy. She's 10 now and the energy hasn't died off. And she just found the legs and she was running all over Bangkok and Thailand and it was nerve-wracking to keep an eye on that. And so I think really getting to know your kids and figuring out, okay, this is not going to work, and then switching it up. So we ended up road tripping around Australia instead for 18 months, and that was much
they don't
better
even
for
have
her.
seat belts or car seats in Thailand, so you can't even strap them down and
It's amazing that we have a society without car seats and seatbelts.
We're in like a minivan, like taxi type thing, and like you're wrestling with them. And like all the sidewalks and stuff are like all over the place. They're trying to push in a strollers like a 4-wheel drive. Like it's just a mission.
Can I just officially say how much I fucking hate car seats?
Oh my God, they're the worst.
They're the fucking worst.
I know, especially if your kids fall asleep and you have to try and get them out.
It's just like, I used to sit in the back of a station wagon with a seatbelt on. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Alexandra, who's like grew like a weed over the last year, is now tall enough to where we thought she'd be fine to sit in the front seat. And so she's so excited. She's 11 and she's like kind of tall now, like for her age. And her well visit with the doctor, they were talking, and I think she was proud to say, like, yeah, I'm sitting in the front seat now. And the doctor went, no. Right. She's like, what? It's like, your bones are not strong enough to handle the front seat. And I'm like, really? This is really a thing? So she's
been relegated.
To what
Daisy
age?
is in the back seat again.
I don't even know what the law is on age, or is it?
Oh, it's
weight?
just
It's
you can't
based on
do
weight.
anything until
It's
you're
like-
an adult.
It's like
That's basically what the law
state by
is.
state.
When you can drink alcohol, that's when you can sit in the front seat.
When you're 21,
Yeah.
18 in the rest of the
Just
world.
don't drink alcohol while you're.
Yeah,
Right,
right.
yeah. Okay, but so how did you get to a point where then, you know, in 2013 you're invited to the White House? I mean, you grew this blog unbelievably. What was some of the keys to success?
I think good timing. We started it when blogging really was just coming onto the scene, really. And we started our blog when we'd already had 10 years of travel under our belt. So a lot of the people starting travel blogs then were just starting to travel. So they were just writing about getting ready to travel, and then there was experiences. But we could start straight off by offering loads of tips and inspiration.
a lot of content.
A lot of content.
Yeah.
So that really helped us. We moved back to Australia when the blog was 6 months old and no one in Australia was blogging. And Craig and I, we just went for it and we just said, okay, we're going to make this our thing. And we just started forming relationships with different travel brands and that in Australia. We got a partnership with Qantas and it just started rolling, and then we went road tripping around Australia, and the Australian audience, even American audience, were just really excited to see where we were going and what we were doing, and it just kind of grew from there.
Yeah, we hustled. We started it here. We're living in Ghana at the time. The last 6 months before we moved back to
Garner.
Ghana.
I thought you said Ghana like the African country.
Actually, I should have. Most people say that. Ghana?
Ghana.
Africa? No,
North Ghana.
Ghana.
That's your next blog thing. From Garner to Ghana. But for you, it'd just be from Ghana to Ghana.
Yeah. This is Ghana. No, yeah, and we just hustled. Like, she was teaching and I was working at Delta. I was starting work at 5 a.m. in the morning and we'd be up to like 2 a.m. working on our site, like every day, just into it, like writing it, building it. And we really worked Facebook hard in the day too, when you could actually do things and build a community on Facebook and people would see your shit.
Organically.
But, so we worked that really hard because there was no Instagram then, there's no Pinterest, there's no Twitter, and it was just basically just blogging and Facebook, and we just hustled and built a community, and and then like you mentioned, that White House thing was pretty crazy. And
how does that happen? Like, how did you come across their radar?
We were traveling around Australia to do an RV trip at the time. We were in the outback in a mining town, middle of nowhere, probably barely had internet. And this email comes through the inbox in all block capitals, White House invitation. I'm like, oh yeah, good one.
This is a great spam one.
I'm surprised
Don't even open
didn't
it.
actually delete it and like click on it because it was.
And they asked for our social security number.
Yeah, I opened it up
via
and it's like
email.
White House
So it was like,
invitation for this event, blah blah blah. We need your social security number, driver's license, all this sort of stuff. I'm like, I just wrote back. It was really cheeky and like, yeah, right. Like, I'm going to send you my social security number.
Tell Obama to put us in first class. I think we said something cheeky like that.
And that was it. Just forgot all about it. And then maybe a week later, she replied, she's like, no, this is for real. This is legit. And then we started seeing this chatter on Twitter, like other friends we know in the industry got the same invitation. I'm like, hang on a second, what's going on here? So I researched her on LinkedIn, and I found her on LinkedIn, and she actually worked for the administration. I'm like, holy shit, this is legit.
Yeah.
But she got back and she said, yeah, sorry, it's our email system at the White House. I know it sounds spammy and all that, but it's the system we have to use and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, and then we actually got invited to the White House. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was
Meet
great.
the Obamas?
No,
they were
it was
out of town.
They were out of town. We were really hoping to because Michelle Obama, it was her
They
initiative.
were visiting a place that you guys had recommended.
Exactly.
We need to get a reference. Yeah,
Sure.
Totally. But yeah, no, we didn't. It was a study abroad program that Michelle Obama had, one of her initiatives to help American students, encourage them to study abroad because of the value of global education. And then they could come back to America and, bring that into whatever they choose to do in America. So we were invited as one of the world's top 100 travel digital influencers.
She must have been following my studies because,
She was.
as I told you guys, that I
in
was
North
I was
Ryde.
lucky enough to do my abroad studies in Australia,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
outside of Sydney. Yeah, shout out to Macquarie Uni.
Yeah.
That's cool.
University.
So let's talk about your podcast. You fancy yourself podcasters.
Yeah,
So,
we're jumping in.
What's
how dare you? I'm just kidding. No, but you have This Is Raleigh, which is not only your Instagram page, but then you now have a podcast. How long have you been doing it now?
it's just a baby. We only have 9 episodes. Very, 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 very new.
Yeah, but that's cool. So your focus is to explore the city and its neighboring areas, I take it?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Well, it's just a way for us to tell our story initially. Like all the episodes, we haven't interviewed anyone, but we do plan to do that. It's just instead of like writing blog posts is time consuming and tough. So we've shared all our story, how we got to Raleigh, why we love Raleigh, moving to Raleigh, all this sort of stuff, and things that we love in and around Raleigh and stuff like that. But yeah, we plan to interview like local Raleigh business people, entrepreneurs, with cool stories, and just to share them with our community.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we've had a podcast on our other side as well, White Travel Blog, but we've started and stopped that 3 times because we're just like,
It's back up. It's back up and running.
hi, we're back again. Just with like doing the blog and YouTube and social media, and we're just a 2-person team as it's like juggling so many hats. But yeah, now we're committed to being consistent. But
Well, yeah, I think it's easy now because we've
have a
always
base.
been nomadic, right? And so now we have a green card, and Raleigh is where we want to settle for real. So I think now that we've
For reals.
now that we have the roots planted, it's like, okay, well, we can be really committed to This Is Raleigh and just sharing the stories of Raleigh and why we love it so much and why it's such a cool place
just
to
from
be.
our perspective as foreigners, Aussies.
Yeah, because we have been to over 50 countries, lived in 5, and Raleigh is where we chose to live.
people are
we
still
think
blown
it's a
away
really
by that.
amazing
we
place.
could almost
high
live.
praise.
We could
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
live anywhere, almost in the world.
And we had
Wow.
to go through a lot to get the green card. Like it was
It was an ordeal. It was a
was an
process. It was
ordeal,
a
so we're really committed
5-year
to it.
ordeal and a lot of
money.
greenbacks.
Yeah.
And made it happen. But yeah, people are like, why Raleigh? And it's like, we still don't understand it sometimes, but they just got under
like
it.
you start thinking about it and you realize so why Raleigh? Like why is it cool? Why is North Carolina cool? I don't know. We've discussed it so many times. It's not obviously just the food and beverage industry, but I think that there's just so much opportunity and it's set in a very beautiful backdrop, right? Like I'm sure Arizona's a nice place too, but it's also hot as sin and
Oh, man. No
and, like,
trees.
they're and so
Sure,
like here you got a lot of
we flew over Phoenix recently, and we look out of the airplane and you see this brown, dry sprawl. But you fly into RDU and you just see like forest.
Yeah.
So I was like, just so green.
greenery.
And everyone comes here, they always say, oh, it's so green. There's so many
Yeah.
trees. I was like, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's just so many reasons. Like a vibrant lifestyle. It's not too big, it's not too small, although it's growing like on steroids now.
It's gonna be nuts.
And
with
we don't know. We
announcement
even,
of Apple coming.
Oh
Yeah,
no! We're like,
I know.
stop! Don't
I
let,
know,
don't
like-
let any more.
yeah.
Secrets out.
Because when we first moved here, we used to say, this is Raleigh's America's best kept secret.
Yeah.
Like, the secret is definitely out now. And it's just, I don't know, just so livable. Like it's not doesn't have like the big tourist attractions. So it's just very livable.
Yeah.
Like I saw so many reasons, like the lakes, the greenways, the brewery scene, the food, the college sports scene, which I love. It's a great hub, East Coast. You can get to a lot of places quite easily, and like flight options are improving all the time. You can drive to the coast or go to the Smokies. Like there's DC, Atlanta, like Nashville, Asheville. It's just
all these
It
places.
was affordable. It was getting expensive now, unfortunately. And we want to buy a house this year, and we're like, this is
Bad time to buy a
nuts.
Oh my
house.
God, that's
Yeah.
crazy. But it's all happening all over the country, though.
Yeah,
all
I
over
was
the
like,
world,
what's going
actually.
on, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, all over the world. Even like Australia's the same. It's ridiculous. Like, but yeah, just so many reasons. Like the music scene, the festivals and events are awesome in normal times.
Yeah.
It's like there's this. Yeah, it just ticks a lot of boxes.
Speaking of festivals and events.
Yeah, let's talk
lead
about it. It's time for us to get this going. This is our own promotion. This
Yes.
is like,
Okay.
we're not getting
I'm
paid to
ready.
do this, folks.
Yeah.
We're doing this because we want to do
Yeah.
this.
Can we come?
I'm ready
Yes,
to hear.
please.
Yeah.
Yes, and if you have any insight as to like maybe what else we should do, we're talking about bubbles and brisket.
We are talking about bubbles and brisket.
Sign me up.
like
that
we
sounds
have.
great.
I'll eat the brisket and you can drink the bubbles.
I'll do both.
Okay.
We have a date. We have a time. We have a place. We have vendors signed up to pour wine and to cook different types of brisket. So
We're talking June 26th. It's a Saturday, midday from about 2 to 6. Where is it at, Matt?
it will be at The Pizza in Cary, which is right where the Trader Joe's is in Cary on Kildare Farm Road.
Walk
Yeah.
there.
You can walk there.
We can
yeah.
stumble home.
Former
from
guest of the show, Anthony Rapillo of V Pizza, was like, I want to be a
Awesome.
part of
Yeah.
this. I want to do this.
Yeah.
They're going to
So-
do a brisket topped pizza.
Nice.
And yeah, so we have we'll announce the specific chefs that are going to be on maybe the next episode. We'll keep you wanting more.
Yeah.
But the nice part is that we're and that's not to say we don't already have the chefs. We really do. It's not a lie. But we have about 4 or 5 committed chefs to the program. And the idea is that to get like different types of brisket, because Matt and I talk about it all the time. I know barbecue, quote unquote barbecue, which is, do you guys know what actual barbecue is called in North Carolina? Like what meat that is?
Pork.
Yeah,
Pulled
okay.
pork,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a verb and a noun. Yeah, it's both. But not that. We're talking brisket because brisket's delicious.
Yeah, this is my favorite. Type
Yeah,
of
I'm
barbecue.
more of a beef man myself than
Yeah.
pork.
I mean, I like them all. I like it all. But this particular one, we're like, let's have some champagne and some brisket and throw it together. Matt is coming through in a clutch way, providing all of the champagne through all of his contacts. So for guests that want to come to the show or come to the event, we'll put up an Eventbrite, or we'll put up ways to get tickets. But you're gonna sample, say 5, maybe 6 different types of brisket. You're gonna have all the champagne that you would really want, and I mean, you just told
All
me the
types of
lineup.
bubbles, yeah.
Yeah.
Max Cast, Master Sommelier, formerly of the wine director of the Farrington House, from Broadbent Selections, is going to join us. We're going to have Wine Cellars, which is represents Zuccardi and Santa Julia and a lot of those good, and then a champagne called Bezerat de Bellefon. And then Deb Lewis, who is a former guest of the show of Vintage 59, which has, I think, one of the best grower champagne. Many people think one of the best grower champagne portfolios in the entire country is going to be providing her wares there as well.
great.
So it'll be a
Sounds
hell of a,
awesome.
it'll be
This
a
is
hell
a
of a
reason
day.
to get out. And
Yeah.
so, and we're
Yeah.
talking about doing other things inside the event. Like maybe we'll have some music. Maybe we'll have some comedy. Maybe we'll just do some fun things. We'll definitely do some podcasting from there as well. But really the best part, we'll all get to see each other together
Yes.
and like hang out. So I don't know what your comfort levels are, everybody listening, but we're going to be out there. It'll mainly be an outdoor event anyhow. So,
And it'll be late June, so I think as far as legally, all bets are off, right? I think
Let's
like
hope so.
all
Let's hope
restrictions
so.
are going to be
Yeah,
gone by
be nice
then.
and warm.
Sounding
Good
promising.
drinking weather.
Exactly.
They're like, pop the corks and put it on your calendar.
There you
yeah.
go.
seriously.
So yeah, June 26th from 2 to 6. We'll have more details on our website and on our Instagram. We'll be blogging about it in the next couple of weeks. You'll see it and find out how to get tickets. But yeah, it'll be a ticketed event as
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Well, so how does everybody find you? What's the best way? Direct people to your blog, your podcasts, your house, your home address, all that stuff. How do we find you?
well. Social security number.
Yeah, apparently.
We'll send that to you in an email.
Yeah, the website's thisisraleigh.com, and almost all the socials are at This Is Raleigh. Instagram, Twitter's at at This Is Raleigh NC because it was already taken, I believe.
How dare they?
And no. And Facebook is at This Is Raleigh.
And
then
podcast. The podcast, This Is Raleigh, on all podcast platforms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if anyone wants international travel and other sites, got a lot of US stuff, Australian stuff, Africa. That's at Y Travel Blog. That's the letter Y for yellow, travelblog.com.
And all the social is at Y Travel Blog for that.
Well, thank you for the time here. Before you leave, you saw when you walked in that red freezer we have in front that was generously donated by Proof Alcohol Ice Cream, who think different about dessert. They fuse alcohol and ice cream in one little pint, 7% ABV in every pint, which is pretty delicious. You get things, flavors like bourbon caramel, coconut rum, strawberry moonshine. Ooh. Really, really delicious flavors. So before you leave, you go get in there, grab a couple of them, take them with you, eat them when you get home. Don't give them to the kids.
Don't give them to the kids.
These are not for them. This is for you.
And while ice cream doesn't travel well, don't worry because they're located at all the Triangle Wine Companies. You can find them in either the Lowe's Foods or Harris Teeter if you just look for that little red freezer that says Proof Alcohol Ice Cream.
That's so great. I've never heard of that before. And is there a suggested serving size? Like, can you just sit there and eat the whole tub? Or is that too dangerous?
That's a good question.
You could.
Like a pint of ice cream.
A good healthy scoop or two is probably what you probably should do.
A little bit of a buzz, like
7%.
Oh no, you can feel it. It's no doubt. What I'll do is because I like to overindulge in everything, but I'll take a couple scoops or a scoop of that and a scoop of like non-alcohol ice cream and just throw it all together and like try a bunch of different things because a little variety, you know.
But then it's down to what, 3.5%?
Yeah, but I have like 7 scoops. So it's like
like a Bud Light.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't rate. No. But yeah.
Well, Matt, what else do we got over here?
Well, great to meet you, Craig and Kaz, as you guys are known. And we'll say good day to you. And thank you so much for joining. Everybody, check out This Is Raleigh Podcast and the Y Travel blog, and you will find out where to eat and drink very merrily.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for having us.
We'll say hooroo, which you might be familiar with.
Thanks for listening to the NC F&B Podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.